Today I want to talk about a manga that I've been reading for the past few weeks. It's another hiatus-filled series, so it's probably expected that I have a natural attraction to it. It just seems the suffering never ever ends. But today we're going to be talking about D.Gray-man. In my eyes, one of the most underappreciated shonen titles out there, and in my eyes, the best shonen that I've read. Now, you can disagree with that, of course, there's nothing wrong. You're not a bad person for disagreeing with me, and I'm not a bad person for disagreeing with you. For me, this is the greatest series probably to come out of that 2000s era of shonen, and I know a lot of Full Metal fans are going to get mad at me. They can go ahead and throw a tantrum, whatever. I'm sticking with this one. I will fight and protect for D.Gray-man's name. But who's going to fight and protect for your own personal and private information? Today's video is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN, or VPN, means it's a virtual private network that's easy to access, easy to use, and is super reliable. In fact, in today's world, I'd say the more we use our technology and the internet, I think a VPN is extremely important. So here we go. Surfshark VPN is accessible, in fact, worldwide, so no matter where you are in the globe, you'll be set. In fact, there are over 3,200 servers in 65 different countries, so it doesn't matter if you're traveling or wherever you are, you should be able to have access to Surfshark. And I would say it's really essential when it comes to your privacy as a human being, as it protects you from cyber attacks and even hackers who would try to get on your precious private information. It's also really good because it's easy and it gives you an alert to your phone whenever there's anything like an email leak, a password leak. You were instantly notified right then and there, so you're able to take action and protect your stuff. It's also not just available on your phone, but it's available on all devices like your PC, your Mac. Therefore, if you're traveling on business using your computer, you should also be protected there as well. It also allows for global content for everyone. So say there's an anime on Netflix that you can only watch if you're from Canada. With this VPN, you'll be able to now access that anime. For me, this feature is really cool and one I'm excited to use. But if you are interested, make sure to check out the link in the description below and use the code MASKEDMAN for 83% off and 3 extra months totally free. So once again, thank you to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring today's video. If I were really to try to sell you on D.Gray-man and some of the key aspects that really attract me on a surface level without spoiling too much, is I think it has one of the greatest shonen protagonists, I think the aesthetic is one of the most unique and pleasing, and I think overall as a story it's amazing. Any negatives? Yes, hiatus. It's a series that calls every chapter as nights, and as the story continues, we get to see an overarching plot develop as it goes through. Again, something very akin to what I remember seeing in Full Metal and other shonens where that's kind of the case. And it just does everything so well. Like, while reading it and as it continues and continues, you just wonder, how does this not get more credit? Like, it mind boggles me. One thing that I think shonen mangas tend to do a lot, and it's not just unique to shonen, this happens a lot in seinen series as well, but using backstories to kind of reveal the character, right? Well, that is kind of the point of the backstory, right? However, I don't think automatically giving a character a backstory automatically makes him better. I find a lot of the backstories that I read, the more that I read things, sometimes fall flat and seem to be just very easy to throw out there. There's not really much that it reveals to us about the character, nor does it cause us to do the other purpose, which is emotionally connect us to those characters. But D.Gray-man, with every backstory it seems to present, attaches me and gets me emotionally invested. Therefore, if that character is even only around for a chapter, I remember the character. And that's only for some of the more side characters. Some of the characters that get more focus are given some of my favorite backstories and amazing character developments, and it's honestly a breath of fresh air to see this executed so well. I think the action's really dope. I think the paneling is fine. It has a good blend and mix of when to say things, when not to say things. It gives me a similar feel to something I was reading earlier but dropped, which is Pandora Hearts. And it's this beautifully unique experience that's wrapped in this Halloween vibe. If you are familiar with Soul Eater, D.Gray-man gives off very similar aesthetic feelings to that, and I always appreciate it. I think it's really cool. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Nightmare Before Christmas, so I've always really liked stories that kind of take a holiday-like aesthetic and kind of build their world around that. I think all the imagery and symbolism that's used in D.Gray-man is really cool. The antagonistic force is something. You're introduced to them, and at first when you're introduced to them, they seem like your run-of-the-mill typical anime villain group, and I'm not going to sit here and say that they're the best anime villain group to exist, and I mean, even then, further on, we get more antagonists, but they do leave quite the impression. Y'all don't get it. Y'all don't know how hard it is for me, like, just to not spoil everything when it comes to to D.Gray-man right now, and I'm gonna do my best not to because I really want you to check out and read it. Now look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like D.Gray-man is completely different from what's typical from shonen at times, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, D.Gray-man has another ability that I think is prevalent with other series like Naruto, JJK, where they're able to sprinkle in a lot of comedic moments that help ease up tension, and it's funny, it's entertaining with D.Gray-man. It follows that thing that we've seen a lot recently from the Shonen Jump magazine, and that's pushing these series that are all about exorcising demons, and D.Gray-man is about that, but they're referred to as Akuma in the series. And I can say this without a doubt, and this is kind of a specific category, but when it comes to series that are about exorcising and dealing with like dark forces and all that whatnot, D.Gray-man takes the cake. The series is a very slow but yet I'd say very well written plot, and I'd say that's something that's a little unique to see from the shonen demographic, as I think a lot of series are pushed and rushed, and therefore we have disappointing endings or disappointing moments. But like I said, D.Gray-man's on hiatus, so that isn't the case. As you read along, it is a bit of a slow burn, mind you. It's not as fast-paced as Bleach, so if you're somebody who really enjoys fast-paced series, D.Gray-man's gonna slow you down a lot, and you gotta just really take a mental note when you go to read it. It's a story that's gonna take its time to set everything up, but I promise you the payoff is worth it. The amount of plot twists in this story to me is just, it has everything. It really does have everything that I love within a story. And I know it has an anime, I haven't seen it, but the fact that I hadn't experienced D.Gray-man before upsets me. Like, D.Gray-man deserves a bigger fan base, but whatever fan base it got, I hope it is devoted, because this series deserves a super devoted oh man, it's so difficult for me to keep my thoughts straight speaking on the fly about this, because I truly have a love for this series. I don't think, if GTO counts as a shonen, I wouldn't say it's my favorite shonen above GTO, but it's up there, and I would put this as my #1 shonen easily. And a large majority of that is something I haven't really gone into yet, and that's the protagonist. Let me introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, to Alan Walker. I don't know how you could complain about this character, because you have people, all crayon eaters mind you, and I haven't said crayon eaters in a while, who dislike shonen characters for being similar to other shonen tropes, but then also hate on characters who don't follow those tropes. Like, there's always like this weird double standard when it's like, oh, if it's not the character from my favorite series, then I'll just find some way to hate on it. But I physically cannot compute if you did not like Alan Walker. So now, I'm not trying to say that Alan Walker was inspired from this character. In fact, you could maybe argue the reverse, but what I will say, because it's the more popular example, is Tanjiro from Demon Slayer is known for being very compassionate towards his opponents. Understanding that at some point this was a human being, and ironically this is something that I'm seeing right now while reading Sweet Home, which I'm almost done reading, by the way, another great read. But Alan Walker does the compassionate, level-headed protagonist beautifully. And again, it is very different from the typical hot-headed, loudmouth shonen character. I don't think that automatically makes it well. It's the way that it's executed within D.Gray-man. There's these beautiful themes that you find with Alan Walker, these plot twists, and seeing his character grow while having this, again, compassionate demeanor that you're first introduced to is such a weird experience. It's refreshing, and it's odd to think that somebody who seems this young is so mature. Like, if you read this as a teenager and you encountered Alan Walker's character, I think he's in that category with characters like Guts and Musashi and Thorfinn. Characters who are not only amazing in writing, but I think can also teach amazing lessons on how to conduct yourself as a person in the right ways. Not saying that those other characters I mentioned are perfect, but there are a lot of lessons to be learned. Like, everyone talks about Edward Elric and Luffy and Eren and no, Alan Walker. That would be my first draft pick. That's my guy. This video is essentially me just fawning over D.Gray-man and trying my best to convince you to read it. Like, please, don't rob yourself of this experience. But yeah, that's all I really gotta say. Again, I don't want to get into too much else because spoilers, but no, yeah, definitely check out D.Gray-man. And if you are new to this channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications that way notified whenever a new video pops up on some of your favorite anime, manga, or whatever content. As always, this has been The Masked Man. Hope everyone has a blessed rest of the day, and peace.